One of the biggest challenges that businesses faced was COVID and the reaction to that. And the first report of the UK COVID inquiry has just come out. It pinpointed serious errors of state. They said Lady Hallett, who was chair of the statutory inquiry, she basically said there were these fatal strategic flaws. You got a lot of publicity, quite negative some of it, Charlie, over the whole reaction about COVID. What are your views with hindsight?
Well, look, again, we complied with what the government was suggesting, putting all the safety equipment on. All their engineers had the masks, the gloves, they used to test themselves before they went in. That's what the government suggested. The customer was very happy with that. We worked all the way through COVID because of that and helped out a lot of people. There's so much, is it right, is it wrong? That's for the scientists to work out what's right and wrong. I still think it's very confusing, but I do know of many people that passed away and allegedly it was COVID. So I believe that it helped a lot of people, but, other people have got different views on it. I just say we done the right thing at the time. If it went again, we would again comply with what the government are telling us to do or requesting us to do.
And I guess the question, Charlie, is really about the mandatory, basically requirements that people have jabs, otherwise they're not employed. What are your views on that?
Well, that I stick by that at the time. What I actually said, we never implemented it, but it was about August, and I think COVID sort of went away around about September-ish. And I said that anybody that I employ from September will need to have had a jab. I wasn't forcing anybody. I was just saying I'm not going to take on people that would jeopardise my workers and the customers. And I believed in that at the time, and it was the right move. But people try and say that I forced people. Of course I never forced them. I said I will not be taking on new employees that have not had the jab. And again, that was my decision at the time. And again, if COVID came again now, that would be my decision again.
Yeah, it is difficult as a business leader to sort of turn around. You have, and people have become over-reliant, if you like, on the science. And we depend on experts, and when they contradict each other, it makes it even more difficult. But evidence is coming to light all of the time that it was an appalling time. There were some terrible decisions being made. And I'm very keen to sort of dig a bit deeper into that. Lady Hallett, just to finish on her words before we go to the break, she says, never again can a disease be allowed to lead to so many deaths and so much suffering. There's going to be so much more to unpack. I'm going to do that straight after these messages.
Might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. You may not even know you have it, but you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand. With early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Hi. I'm your retirement fear, but don't be scared. You're still in pre-retirement.
Does that mean I have more time to plan?
Precisely. Here, this is pretirement.org.
Retirement savings options? Potential tax breaks.
Move.
This isn't scary. I'm doing it.
You got this.
Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan.
The Muckrakers are restless. This is today's News Talk, TNT.
Well, welcome back to the Muckrakers with me, Andrew Eborn. I'm joined by James Freeman, and also the wonderful Charlie Mullins has joined us as well. And a big campaign which we're supporting here in TNT is Don't Die July. It's all about heart safety should be a priority. And they're recommending that people go along to www.don'tdiejuly.com to get the whole family involved in what they call a quick and fun 30-minute CPR course. and basically these can save lives. I think it's sort of 30 pushes and 2 breaths is the basic sort of proposition. So don't die July, do pop along there and sign up. Some brilliant information, and you could save lives. Talking about saving lives, James, we were looking at COVID and the very difficult conversation, the difficulties that businesses had trying to follow what the experts, in inverted commas, were telling them. And a lot of that expertise, it's turning around, was flawed. That's what we're finding now. We've had a lady had its damning first report. There will be more to come out. What's your take on it?
Interesting that you're talking about don't die July, Andrew, because, it's clear now from the statistics that across all of the countries across the world where you had a high uptake of these mRNA products, that we're seeing heart problems, strokes in young people. I mean, this is what the official data shows. We've seen excess deaths as high as 30% across these countries. And it's clear that the mRNA jabs are partly responsible for that. World-leading experts now even talking about turbo cancers being caused by these new jabs, which weren't tested. A lot of the clinical studies, we know that there was fraudulent behavior in that now, and yet the government's indemnified these companies. And we were lucky in the UK that there wasn't legislation around forcing people to take them to work. But some employers, like Charlie, did insist that. I think, to be honest with you, it's disgusting. I think that nobody should be forced to have a medical intervention to be able to work. And Charlie, can I just ask, because you went on GB News and you said the unvaccinated should lose their human rights, furlough, and their job. Do you still stand by that?
Well, I say, do I still stand by? What I said at the time is that if we're being told that it's better off to have the jab to come out into the public, then that's what I complied with. I mean, I don't think that, when you're saying, would I still do that and do I still agree with it? At the time, it was the right decision. We was told people need to stay indoors. They've got to wear masks. They've got to do this. And the statement I made was, I never said anyone's going to lose their job. I said that I will not be taking on new employees unless they've had the jab. That was their choice.
What about that? What about that statement though on GB News, where you, and I'm quoting you here, there's a post on X. It says the unvaccinated should lose their human rights, their furlough, and their job. You said that. Do you stand by that?
Okay, I never said they should lose their human rights. I never said that at all. Whether I said they lose, I don't recall saying they lost their job. But if you say I did say it. But what I was saying about these people is they should not be able to come into the workplace and put other people at danger. That was the point I was making.
Yeah, but Charlie, I mean, look, governments don't get everything right. I mean, there's examples in history where we've had medical drugs come in and lots of people have been harmed. We know the governments lie. Look at the post office scandal, right? So you're saying as an employer, you'll do whatever the government says rather than protecting the human rights of your employees. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, what I said is that we was complying what the government was suggesting. And at the time, look, let's be fair, this COVID was new to everybody. And everybody was very sort of up in the air. It's changed the world. So somebody had to make sort of some form of guidelines to go by. That's what they come out with. We done our best to comply with it. But I go back to what I'm saying. Nobody lost their job. Nobody lost their human rights. On the furlough thing, I never believed in furlough anyhow. I feel that has created situation now of people not wanting to come into the workplace. I don't believe the government should have given them full pay for sitting at home and doing nothing. That's my view.
But Charlie, can we just? I mean, I'd like to hear you kind of make a promise that, because look, I've done a documentary with UKCV Family. It's a British charity that represents people that have been and that have died from these vaccines and also that have been injured. I've interviewed many people that have, wheelchairs, that have got heart problems. And these are not small numbers when you look across the world. We're talking about hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. And there is a cover-up going on in government. We know that because I know 2 ministers, Tory ministers, have actually come out and said the reason the COVID inquiry put the vaccine segment of the COVID inquiry till after the election was because it could have collapsed the government. Can you just make a promise and say that, look, if we go back to that place where the government is talking about vaccines, you shouldn't mandate them, because it should be a choice for people, particularly when they're products that have been rushed. We knew they developed these in a year instead of the 10 years of testing normally. It's absolutely wrong and disgusting that businesses force people. And I know you're saying that it was just new employees coming into your business, Charlie, but across the world, we saw mandates in Australia, in Canada, in the US. And one thing we've seen in the courts recently is a lot of those people that were fired because they've refused to get the vaccines, they've actually now been forced to take them back on and back pay them, because the law says, and medical ethics, that it is wrong. You cannot force people into having a medical intervention. So, I mean, I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you plan to do in the future.
I'll go back to what I'm saying. I did not force anybody. I don't even know if certain people that was on the company, they went and had it done because they felt it was the right move. Nothing to do with work or me at all, because I never implemented that I would not employ anyone that's not had a jab, because by the time we got to September, it started to fade away. The fact that scientists have made a terrible mistake, it appears, and lots of people have suffered, I feel very sorry for that. Many people have been affected by it. It was something that came out of the blue. We're not used to it, but I don't think you should try and target me as the bad guy in this. I never forced anyone, and then let me just finish. Sorry, and I never got rid of anybody for it. And we've done everything possible, like many other businesses done, to help people to get back into work. So this argument really, or disagreement, it's the scientists and the government and the people that said this is what we need to do. They made the COVID injection thing. And again, I'll go back to what I'm saying. I went along with what I was told to, or suggested was the big thing. And many other people done the same.
Yeah, Charlie, I mean, the reason I'm feeling so passionate about it, because, I chose very, very early on, because I speak to lots of experts around the world, doctors, scientists. A lot of them come on my show on TNT. And I figured out very, very quickly that, hang on a second, this isn't right. They haven't been tested properly. So I chose not to have it. And I was absolutely victimized by all of the mainstream media, the likes of Jeremy Vine and all of the disgusting stuff that was going on there, which was targeting people like me, calling us, we're dangerous, we're going to kill Granny, we're disgusting people, we're selfish, all of that kind of stuff come out. So when I sort of see you on GB News saying things like that and targeting, and
I said that if a restaurant says you've got to have a document to come in to say you've been jabbed, then that's up to them. I don't make them rules. The one rule I made was, if I employ any new people, that they would need to have had the jab. Look, my own family worked for me, daughter, son-in-law, and all of them said, we're not having a jab. And I said, it's entirely your choice. People are trying to, twist it on me. I'm a pretty straight talker, and I know what I said. I know what I didn't say. I know what I believe in. And yes, it looks like government scientists have made a massive mistake. And I feel very, very sorry that they put that information out there. But we had a decision at the time: comply with it or take a chance. And at the time, I know quite a few people, accordingly to their death certificate, died of COVID.
Yeah, but let's just hope Reform get in, because Reform, one of their policies is to hold a full public inquiry both into the excess deaths and the jabs. I don't feel Labour are going to do that. They're just going to carry on with this big cover-up, which is also what the COVID inquiry is doing at the moment. But thank you anyway. I really respect your response there, Charlie, and thank you for answering that.
And it is something, Charlie, and it's good to give you a platform to talk about this, because it is something, right? And we often realise that in the media thing, people don't get an opportunity to respond to that. It concerns a lot of people. And what I found incredible, there was a deafening silence about COVID during the campaign. None of the political parties talked about it and the mistakes that have been made. As I say, Lady Hallett has been condemning the government in terms of what happened, and various others for appalling things. So we need to make sure that lessons are learned. But from your point of view, Charlie, what you're saying is, look, you followed what they told you. You relied on the experts. So we need to make sure that we need to make sure that the experts are questioned, I think, is the
that was it. But I'm saying nobody lost their job. We didn't force anybody. And as I say, I feel that was the right decision at the time. If we had to go again, we don't know until we're told what to do. You know, I mean, I've had the jab a couple of times. Many of my family have, loads of people have. So that was where we was guided to. And, you know, I don't feel I've done anything wrong. But if, you know, people shouldn't be, you know, getting on to me. They should be getting on to the scientists. You know, and I respect what. And I respect.
All I'd say, Charlie, though, all I'd say, Charlie, is though, you know, you're a businessman, you're a clever man. You know that government doesn't quite often. Well, I'd say probably there's an argument to say it gets more things wrong than it gets right. So, you know, as somebody who employs people, you kind of have a responsibility for them. Just following what the government tell you to do is not necessarily the best thing. That's my view, anyway.
I totally agree with you. They're liars. They give us promises. They're clueless on many things. I totally agree with you. But, you know, it was all new, and that was the best information and guidance that we had at the time. But I do agree with you. Most governments, total waste of time, and we need someone like Reform in there to sort our country out and to stand up and point this out if it's wrong. I totally respect, and I like the fact that you're very passionate and doing documentaries about what went wrong with it, because it needs to be brought out in the open so that it never happens again.
No, you're absolutely right.
And
sunlight is the best disinfectant, and it's appalling what's happening, and we're getting more and more information where we do have to question the experts. The reports will come out and dig deeper into that. There are so many questions to be asked, but from a business point of view, which is why it's important to give you that platform to talk about it, Charlie. From a business point of view, businesses were in an impossible position sometimes, and I think looking at that, but there's nothing more persuasive than a road to Damascus moment when somebody is a convert and says, hang about, I should have questioned that. And we've had that with J.D. Vance, which sounds like a cheap sportswear store, as I say. He made some terrible comments about Trump, and now he's his running mate. So people do have those road to Damascus moments, and I think it's powerful when that happens.
Critically analyzing global affairs, the Muckrakers on today's News Talk, TNT.